Hello and welcome to this podcast where we're excited to announce the certification of the UltraTest Genesis to the latest version of the ADESA product assurance certification. Today I've got Steve Mellings, the CEO and founder of ADESA, and Tom Gardner, who's the product sales specialist at UltraTest Solutions. So welcome, Steve. If I can start with you. So maybe you could give us just a brief introduction into ADESA and, for the people that might not know ADESA and what the organisation is about.
Sure. Thanks, John. Nice to chat with you guys today, and thanks for the opportunity. So ADESA is a independent certification body based in the UK. We have a range of certifications that we offer, including the UK GDPR certification scheme Standard 8. That's for companies who recover retired assets. We've just been appointed a new certification body for another new GDPR certification scheme called LOCS 23, which is a legal certification, and we're adding 9001. But the crux of today is that we also test product. So we are probably the leader in verification of data sanitization tools. We've been doing it for about 12 years now, and we have our own test lab over here, where we take products in and we verify the claims that those products are fit for use. And I know that we're going to talk about in a second the evolution of product assurance, but in short, we're kind of like an independent certification body who verifies organizations' compliance with standards or verifies that their products are fit for use.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, as you said, the new or let's say updated version of product assurance. And for those that don't know, what is the test about? What's the main purpose of it and objective of it?
So we've got 3 different levels of testing. Only 2 are live in the market at the moment. The first is product claims test, and that's where we take a claim about a product, about its effectiveness, and we put it into the lab and we prove or disprove that claim. And that's really good at building assurance from better than having no assurance. But it verifies that sanitization is effective. However, there are guidelines, NIST 888 and standards, IEEE 2883, that are now out in the market. NIST has been around since 2014, IEEE since last year. And these standards are for how products should certify different media. Now, typically, those standard stroke guidelines, and for the purpose of today, if I mention standards, I also mean the guidelines for NIST. But those standards, they determine what commands software should send to different media types by product set, so hard drives or SSD, through to different interfaces. And it's about how the firmware within the devices accepts those commands and executes on those commands. So it's actually a really high-end certification that companies like yourself have put your product forward through to verify compliance against these published standards. So it's quite an in-depth test.
Okay, interesting. So not as simple, a little more complex than maybe first meets the eye.
Well, I think there's an awful lot cold comfort compliance and cold comfort assurance being given out. So it says it does something brilliant. We'll believe you. This test actually verifies, and as you know, it took about 6-7 weeks, I think, for you guys. Some much longer. There's over 14 separate tests for NIST 888. Lots of different drives are put into the test. We know that those drives support the commands that are being issued, so we expect the software to actually execute correctly. If it doesn't, we want to see how it fails over. So this is a really high-end test, and the purpose of it is to build assurance. Your software has been written to comply with these standards, and that means that customers, when they're seeking a product, that they point these standards out. I want a NIST 888 certified product. It's only via the testing that we've done in the lab here that we can be assured that your product in a laboratory environment will work in the field the same way that we've tested it here.
Okay, and talking of the field, obviously the product, Tom, as you've mentioned to me before, is very much focused on the ITAD sector for people trying to repurpose products. So, Steve, how do you really feel that the product assurance is going to help the ITADs out there, and what's the benefit to them?
It's all about the value proposition for your customers. So customers are afeared. There's an article in the BBC today, this is early part of June 2023, about why companies are destroying hard drives. The short and sweet answer is fear. And so what we do as an industry is that we need to build assurance and confidence. And so the certification that we have, which is the ICO approved UK GDPR certification scheme standard 8, that builds assurance from the process. But standardization is the technical aspect and probably the most challenging. And what we're trying to do with product assurance, which Ultratest has just passed, is to build real confidence that the product works across all different drive sets that are presented to it, not just one, but all different drive sets. And it's really about helping the industry who are using your product build assurance to their customers to extend the product life cycle, to release assets confidently, and to be assured that their brand and their reputation is being protected accordingly.
Okay, interesting, fantastic. Right, Tom, if I may come on to you. So welcome along today. So maybe you could just give us a bit more background on Ultratest. I know you're obviously now owned by Restore PLC, Restore Technology. So yeah, just give us a bit of background on Ultratest and what the main goals of the business are.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So Ultratest is was set up as a company which is like a sister company to Ultratech. Ultratech have been going for the past kind of 26, 27 years. And predominantly their model is that we will buy hard drives in bulk, like so large volume quantities, and then we run them through the specific Genesis machines that we have in-house. We will erase all of the data, test them to verify that the drives are good. And I guess our USP is that we repair the hard drives as well. So effectively what we're saying is if we are getting in hard drives with defects or bad sectors, 70% health, we're then able to run the specific repair schedules on them to get them back up to 100% health grade A to be sold on the refurbished market. And Ultratest has been set up so what we do now is we sell or rent out the individual machines to organizations so they can do what Ultratech are doing, albeit probably on a slightly smaller scale.
Okay, so in terms of customers, I'm guessing now the fact you're deploying the equipment, that could be anywhere across the globe, right?
Correct. So the actual machines we've custom made into flight cases, so they're easily transferable. As long as they've got power and access to the internet, they'll work anywhere in the world effectively. So I think it allows ITADs and various different companies within our kind of industry to have the capability to do what we're doing in-house. And now that legislations like ADISA has come through that we're not sending hard drives on the M4 in lorries with lots of data and encrypted information on them, it means that customers were kind of forced to do it in-house to protect those aspects there. So we've obviously seen an opportunity there, and then we provide the customer with a solution so that they can have everything that they need to be compliant with all of the legislations within the ITAD industry.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm guessing obviously there's a cost for these machines to run these machines. So in terms of return on investment, in a real world environment, what are the ITADs going to see? Is this more around this extended yield that you're talking about through repair?
Exactly that. So I kind of talk about it as like a double-edged sword. So you've got the sustainability and the kind of the green aspect that you're taking hard drives that arguably could have been shredded or destroyed in whatever form, and we're able to repair those. So we're able to open that up to people in the ITAD industry and offer an additional revenue stream. So yield for them is going to go kind of through the roof, and effectively we're saying that rather than destroying or for whatever measures that you want to go down, you can repair those hard drives and sell them on again. So yes, there's obviously a cost for the machines, but every single customer that we have using the machines are making money from them. So it's a kind of win-win situation that, yes, we've provided a solution that's going to help you within the industry with the challenges that we have with e-waste and talking about environmental goals and reuse and refurb where you can. But at the same time, we understand that business is business, so it has to be commercially viable as well.
Okay, fantastic. And then in terms of those sort of financial models that you offer the customer, do you sell the equipment or is it rental? How does that work?
We've tried to tailor it to kind of like all the different requirements that we kind of see from people. So typically, most of our customers will go for a monthly subscription model, which is a dual combination of a hardware and software rental. And we kind of do small contracts. So 12 months would be the longest contract that we do to help people in the industry. And And we also try to help out as well. So if there are certain months, for example, where there isn't product coming in, we'll always do what we can to try and help them, so that it's not just a flat rate and people are kind of struggling within the industry. Like if we can jump in and help them or assist them with whatever's going on within the kind of the economy and the climate, then we will. But we also offer the opportunity to purchase the hardware as a one-off cost as well. So whatever the requirements are from the individual business, we'll tailor a solution around them.
Okay, so you have a CapEx or an OpEx model, which, depending on what the customer is and what their drivers are, then they can find something that fits either. Fantastic. So in terms of customers, do you provide a trial if they want to maybe, evaluate? Because I'm guessing it depends on the type of product they're seeing, in terms of what kind of yields they're going to see. They're going to have a lot of questions, right?
Exactly. So we offer a free trial as standard, which is we loan the machine out for 2 weeks. And that's effectively as a proof of concept, because I can sit here behind the computer screen now telling you how brilliant it is and how we can repair hard drives instead of throwing them in the shredder. And people are probably thinking it can't be true. And I prefer to kind of go back the other step, and I want customers to challenge me, and kind of say, is it compliant to such and such? Does it do all the NIST purges that Steve was talking about earlier? So if anyone was vaguely interested in our machines, I'd be like, challenge me, take the machine, use it for yourself, speak to Steve. Steve will give you all of the accreditations that we've just gone and passed through, and then verify that we actually are part of the ADESA product claims test. And I think that's really important within the ITAD industry. When they have customers coming to them, they should be challenging them to pick an ITAD. Who should we use? It shouldn't just be who's going to turn up to my data center or my office and pick up my equipment for free and kind of get rid of it as quickly as possible. You should be challenging them and seeing what compliances they have in place, what services they're using, what software or hardware they're using to take the data off the device, albeit a hard drive or any networking equipment, and also do your own audits. So for example, on the networking front, you could, or the hard drives, you could take a piece of machinery that's gone through their processes, analyze it, and see if there is any data still on that device. And if there is, I don't think you're kind of using the right ITAD. And again, you want to kind of go back and see what it is that they're doing. So challenging them for me is the most important aspect. So for me, I'd say have the machine for 2 weeks, use it yourself, and you can see how kind of brilliant it is and how it can benefit you. And we do an analysis after to kind of show them that these are the amount of drives that you've processed. Obviously on the market now, you can kind of see the resale value, and they can obviously then kind of weigh it up in a comparison of what they would have done before in their channel. And then moving forward, how it can obviously have that increased yield and revenue aspects for them.
Interesting. Okay, so I guess really, what you're trying to promote rather than just the erasure is the whole repurpose, the reuse, which I think we've all seen some of the reports floating around the press today is obviously very much on topic. Yeah. Steve, as I think from an ADESA point of view, in terms of where do you sit in terms of the whole reuse versus recycle versus the shredding of drives?
So I think the whole bit's really topical in terms of the bigger picture. I mean, climate change, etc. And we're not going to delve into that aspect because this is really, I guess, scope 3 that we're talking about here, and extending the product life cycle to keep that embodied CO2 still within play in terms of its manufacturing purpose. And I think there was a piece in the Guardian this week about loss of assets during a disposal process. I think it was into retail environments, and there was lots of hand wringing about this is dreadful, it shouldn't happen. I think the companies who are releasing the assets need to take greater responsibility as well. There is a channel out there. It was quite funny that in the articles there's no mention of ADESA's UK GDPR certification scheme, and you sat there going, that's because they're not doing their research. They just think looking at the industry is flat. It isn't. There are some really, really professional companies out there. There's some world-class products out there. There are people in the industry who are really ethical and really, really motivated to do the right thing all the time. And I think that's what the story should be about, which is the good news story, that this industry is moving away from, I guess, the scrap metal type persona that it once had maybe 15, 20 years ago, and it's becoming a service-led industry with a huge amount of investment taking place. There's lots of inward investment from organizations being procured and actually being invested from independent entities, VC, but there's also a lot of organic growth internally, with acquisition Restore being a good example. And I think what we want to do is to highlight excellence and create a better persona for the industry to receive all these benefits, because people are sitting there going, I'd love to extend the product lifecycle, but I'm frightened. Okay, let's deal with that fear. Let's build assurance. I'd like to extend the product lifecycle, but I'm not allowed to because my policy says destroy. Let's challenge that. Let's educate. Let's look at the benefits. And I think that, whilst the stories that we saw in the BBC and the Guardian are great for today's headline, there's a different narrative, in my opinion, about the growth of this industry, the profession of this industry, some of the tool sets that are being developed. And we've worked together for a long time. Back in the old days, was it the SA80, the original one before Genesis? I think that was. It might have been a weapon. I don't know. We've seen how much inward investment. It's not cheap. It's really well engineered product. Nemesis is clever. Adam's done a great job. Really clever technology, and yet people still go, "I'll just destroy." They're missing the opportunity of engaging intellectually with some really, really good organizations, I think. And there's the benefit, which Tom has talked about, which is about financial benefit. Let's get crude, talk about money. There's nothing wrong with that. You can benefit financially from this. You can benefit it from a sustainability piece, benefit from a CO2 reporting perspective. You can do it from a philanthropist perspective and start donating. There's a huge amount of opportunity for redundant equipment if the company who are releasing it engage in the right way and don't treat this flippantly. There's lots of benefit.
So I think what you're saying, though, the key pickup that I've got there is it's education, and really this is education driven at the user, more than within the sector of the industry, as it says. In terms of that education, I guess, to bring on to my next question, so how do people find out more about ADESA? If there are people out there that are developing products or looking for certifications, what would be the next steps, and how would they engage with ADESA?
I'll put my hand up like this. Vote for us. You go to the website at first call, so adesa.global. That will lead there. We got our products on the different website, ADESA. It's adesarc.com, which we call the ARC, the ADESA Research Centre. So adesa.global, go there and you'll navigate around there to different certifications. That's how you find out about ADESA. I know, Tom, you're going to mention, because we're there as well, we're at ITAD Summit. So if you're in the industry in the US, come and find us at the ITAD Summit. If you're in Europe, we're actually at the eWaste conference in Frankfurt later this month. So come and have a chat. It's really important to open dialogue, I think, because everybody is different. Everybody's got a different agenda, different motivations, different budgets. And so one size doesn't really fit all. All that we want people to do at ADESA is engage. Don't just treat this flippantly. It's not waste. I know everybody talks about e-waste. This is product. It's got value, it's got opportunity, and it's got data on it. So let's engage with this in the right sense, I think.
Have the conversation, isn't it? And yeah, likewise, Tom, as Steve alluded, I think you're heading over to Arizona in July 18th and 19th for the ITAD Summit. So what are you looking to do there? Are you have you got a booth, or what's the plan?
Straight to the bar, hopefully.
Straight to the bar.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, but no, we're exhibiting there, so I think it's quite important for us to. We've got both of the demo devices that we can kind of take with us. Because again, obviously, like I kind of alluded with the free trial, it is kind of one of those that I can talk about it and kind of say how great it is. But to have it there firsthand, and then people can kind of play with it, you can physically touch it, and you can kind of see the main benefits of it. It's an exciting time for us. I know we talked a bit just before. It's not really my cup of tea, but you boys really interested in Love Island coming out tonight. And eBay are the main sponsor for them, promoting obviously all of the kind of reuse of like unwanted fashion. So it's happening in other industries, maybe not potentially the one that we have now. So again, I think it's that whole education piece. I did see a statistic that last year, I think there was 500 million tons worth of e-waste kind of thrown into landfill, which, to put into perspective, was about 23 kilograms per person. So having a kind of overall one-stop solution like a Genesis or a Nemesis will kind of benefit customers massively within that kind of aspect, that you don't have to have 2 or 3 or 4 steps or procedures. I understand through speaking with people in our industry that times are a little bit tighter. People are extending the life cycle of their journey, so to speak. So people aren't buying as much as they are. So for an iTAD to kind of stand out, I think it's all about challenging or the customer challenging them, make sure that they've got the very best systems and procedures in place, and having that kind of global reputation. So if you were to do any independent tests to see if there was any data on them, which I'd welcome anyone to do, and we've had customers do, and the reports that we've had back from those independent tests is absolutely flawless. So if you start kind of getting a reputation for yourself within the industry that we have, I think you're going to stand out, and that's where you're going to gain more customers, more traction, and then there'll be even more yield and revenue as well.
Great stuff. Well, that's really good to hear. Very interesting indeed. Okay, well, I think looking at the clock, it's probably time for us to wrap up for today. Obviously, you'll both be at various events here in Europe and also in the US. So hopefully people will find you there. And as we were saying, I think it's all about the conversation, having the conversation, educating our customers, our customers' customers. So obviously look forward to people meeting you there. And if there's anything else, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much, chaps. Lovely to chat. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Thanks all.